So with Tesla being sort of the first one, and we're going to see more of these almost autonomous to fully autonomous automobiles coming on really in the next few years, I can't help but wonder what the land use and real estate implications are for that. What I've thought about so far is that if we don't have to drive the car, we also don't have to park it in a building. And if we don't have to park in the building, then builders don't have to build parking spaces for that building. And to me, that changes the entire sort of economic feasibility structure for buildings.
So it's not just Tesla and all the electric cars, it's and all those future driverless cars. It's also the sharing economy and firms like Uber that are giving us lots of choices now where sharing a car is much more feasible. The implications of driverless cars, I've been thinking about it as well, they're pretty amazing because they can drop you off, pick you up. We can park in land that is less usable for other things. It's definitely going to change the land value equation. And if we take a typical high-rise office building and we say instead of having 10 floors of parking for a high-rise office building, we can cut that down to 2. That gives you so much more productive space, adds to value, and there's many, many other implications. I'm sure that you're thinking about the same thing, that and retail and hotels and on.
It costs almost as much to build a structure for one car as it does for one unit, for one apartment unit or one office space. So it's going to have dramatic implications at some point. I don't know how long it's going to take for it to play out. The other thing that's interesting is that if we can be in a car commuting, but we don't actually have to pay attention and we can be working as if, in effect, we're being chauffeur-driven, it seems to me that people don't have to live within what is normal commuting distance. So the relationship between where we work and where we live has the potential of changing. So if you work in downtown San Diego, you could live in Temecula. It wouldn't really matter.
So it's going to change the interior configuration of cars. There are going to be mobile work stations. Environments. My stepdaughter asked me the other day, she said, when will I be able to sleep in the Tesla? And I said, not yet.
Unless she wants to go out while it's parked right now.
Well, it can stay between the lanes and between cars, but I wouldn't advise going to sleep quite yet, but eventually. But the ability to work or sleep or watch movies, yes, it dramatically will lower the time cost of commuting, which means cities can spread out more. Although I think time will still be important, but you're right, it could be productive time.
Yeah. I tell people that it just feels like the United States economy right now is in a sort of a prosperous global island in a sea of global economic depression or anxiety.
I think we are doing wonderful. The fact that we only have about 5% unemployment is remarkable to me. As you know, we have something called structural unemployment, where there's a mismatch between the skills and the jobs. We've had that for a long time. That would suggest that we should have 6 or 7% unemployment, so we're doing really well. We can't do a whole lot better than this unless we improve our education system. And the interest rates are relatively low historically, which means that the home values for most Americans have recovered. There's not nearly as many people underwater. All the signs are pretty darn good, and the presidential political rhetoric will make it sound otherwise, but we're doing great.
This being an election year, how does that sort of typically play out economically, and what do you expect this year? Are we basically, is the economy sort of going to be on stabilization mode, sort of driverless mode right now, or is there any kind of economic clouds on the horizon that might play out this year?
Well, it's impossible to have any political pressure when you have a lame duck president, and theoretically the Fed is independent of the president. I expect this year to be a bit of a challenge only because the global problems are weighing down on our otherwise good local indicators. And so I'm not sure exactly what the Fed's going to do. They might be slow to raise interest rates if China was doing better and Europe was doing better, they'd probably be raising them sooner. So I don't think that the presidential year is going to have a whole lot of influence, but we're certainly watching the rest of the world right now.
What about who we elect as president? Do you think that has an influence economically? When you dummy it down to real estate?
Well, it does, and I don't know how ignorant the voters are that are supporting the extreme candidates. Go to the right-wing extreme and the left-wing liberal extreme, and both of those candidates are as unrealistic as you can possibly be. And yet, there's people out there that think that we can provide free 4-year college education and free health care for all of us with an increase in taxes of $1,000 on the average household, and that's nowhere close to paying for it. So I can't imagine that we elect these extremes. We'll probably end up somewhere in the middle, but yes, it will affect our economy. If we go the Republican direction, you would think that we're going to have more conservative fiscal policy. However, the Republican candidates always support strong military, and with the exception of Rand Paul, military intervention. And, that costs money. And, when Ben Carson and all the others say, yeah, I'm going to be tough and intervene, it costs money. And so it's not clear that with either party, Democrat or Republican, we're going to really rein in our deficit problem very much.
Well, we're a day before Iowa, so this thing's probably going to filter out pretty quickly. It should be fun, though, over the next couple of months.
Yeah, hopefully we'll lose a few candidates, along the way. And, the more moderate ones will either rise up that are more electable or, I don't know.
In San Diego, we have a very diverse economy, so even if there's a hiccup in one sector, as, for instance, we experienced in 2001 with the technology business, you felt it in terms of office vacancy rates in some industrial in places like Sorrento Valley, Sorrento Mesa. But if you were in Mission Valley or downtown, you didn't feel it the same. So it's even geographically regional specific.
Right. And in San Diego, there's other things that matter a lot. I think having the right mayor and the right pro-business government, or at least business-friendly government, helps a lot. And we seem to have that with our current mayor. And for a little while, we did not. With Filner, we didn't know what we had, and there might have been some moral corruption in the system, and that really hurts the city.
So you've been here in San Diego since 2007. You are an immigrant from the Midwest, and so how have you seen San Diego change over the past 8 years, 9 years now since you've been here?
Well, we've gone through these city cycles. We had some stable city leadership, and then we ran into some problems, and now we're stable again. And so we've gone through a rough cycle, but we're past the worst of it. I like the leadership we have at the city and the county. I see the culture of negativism still flourishing here. And I'm looking for the honest leaders and politicians and private leaders like you and the media to help educate people out there that we're going to have to be more tolerant of more density, mixed use places, and we're going to have to stop saying traffic, traffic, traffic. You're going to kill my kids every single time somebody wants to develop something, even if it's a senior citizen home where nobody drives. And I don't know how we get over that, but that's where I'm hoping.
That takes us full circle back to autonomous automobiles, doesn't it? Although I like to tell people, I heard someone say once, when we always complain about traffic, I always admonish them to say, we are the traffic. We have a responsibility to address that. In some cases, we address it through better land use, creating a better affinity or relationship between where we live and where we work. And in some cases, maybe technology does solve our problems. I don't think the trolley is.
And planning can help, because when you do something like a trolley line, a sprinter line, and you do it to a low density area, which we do sometimes, it doesn't help anything for about 3 generations.
Right.
And 3 generations from now, they'll say, oh, they were smart. Well, not really. you need to simultaneously change the zoning and get the land use density approved so that these nodes of transportation hubs can actually improve the land values and provide more affordable housing again, along with smaller units and more density. So hopefully we'll see some enlightened planning. We certainly have some talented groups out there pushing for that, but it's a battle here again because of this culture of not in my backyard, do it someplace else.
So the discussion I had with Dr. Miller this morning is a preview to a panel presentation we're going to hold later this month in affiliation with the Urban Land Institute, and I'm going to be moderating a panel of people in San Diego to talk about what's going on in the economy and in real estate over the coming years. So I invite everybody to join us. It should be a lot of fun.